Hi guys, what's up? This is Easy Things to Draw, and this is Critique Corner, a segment I have every Sunday. Basically, let me describe the segment to you. The segment basically is that you, as a viewer, send in a piece of artwork to me, and I give my feedback on it, my critique on it. I'm not a master. I'm not a master at all. I'm on my own artistic journey. You know what I mean? I got my own goals, and I'm sure you can see me improve as I'm drawing on this channel. You know, I'm growing along with you guys. And I really think that's what a teacher is. I really think a teacher, not that I'm a teacher, but I really think a teacher or anybody that imposes some form of wisdom would be. It's just somebody else on a different, either further along the same path or like on a different kind of path. But I'd like to think that I can give good feedback. And another big part of this segment is I really hope that you guys watching can give feedback in the comments too. I really appreciate that a lot. Like if I just miss something, or I want to hear your opinions, even if they're similar or they're not similar, or you think I'm wrong when I critique something. So please post in the comments. I really pay attention to the comments on this particular segment. Anyways, guys, let me. Oh, I gotta let you know where to send something in. You can send something in to Omega Man 20 omegaman20 at gmail.com. Title it, Critique Corner or CC or something like that, so I know what it is. The segment's grown pretty well, and honestly, I'm getting way more emails, which is awesome, awesome, awesome. I almost have so many now. I have enough for like a while. So, if you saw something, if you sent something in and you haven't seen it on here, I'm sorry. It's just there's just a lot of pieces, and I'll get to it, But if you send some in, there's chances are that's too good, I've gotten a couple of things like that where I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, this guy's, that's just too good of a piece. I'm gonna probably make a featured segment showing those as well eventually, after a few more episodes of this. I would like an intro, by the way, to this. I don't really have an intro. I just have the same one. I want to make a custom intro. I just haven't had time for it. If you guys want to make one for me, I'd love that. Anyways. I'm done with the rambling. Another thing about this is my first impression critique. I haven't really prepared of what I'm going to say. It's just my honest feedback to what's going on. Anyways, this one is sent in, I believe, by Avon Uchiha. I think it was sent in by him, and it is a Super Saiyan, he says. So we're gonna go over this drawing. I also use digital. I think it's just quicker. I can draw over it. So the first thing is it's taken by a photo, right? So they are gonna have this kind of gradation on the outside of this, so you have to be careful. So that kind of changes the things a little bit. For example, the first thing that pops out at me is that these lines up here are way too dark compared to the lines below, but I think that's the photo. That's the photo part of it. And what? Let me. That's the first thing. So when we're talking about line weight, you talk about line weight a whole lot. And if you want to do like a line art drawing, I always suggest, if you're doing something, to make the outer border lines ever so slightly thicker than the lines in the middle. And the reason I do that is because it contains the shapes, and I find that to be very attractive, and a lot of people do that. I mean, that's almost like a standard rule, I think, in certain line art. Obviously, standard doesn't mean it's totally correct. It's just a way that guys have made it work for them in the past. The other way, in terms of line art, I usually do is if something is on front of the other. If you got like a box, and you have like another box in front of it, let's say they're both the same line weight, it'd be wise to make the part overlapping the lines a little thicker. I mean, ever so slightly thicker. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's usually my general rule on line art, and I've kind of said it a couple of times. So the two rules are, if they're on the outside, I like containing the inside shapes by making the outside line a little bit thicker. And I also make lines thicker when they are in front of another object, like the arm coming in front of the body or something like that. That's actually my general rule for that. Um, so let's go into this box. This box is pretty good. You know, I like it. You know, if I was to drop, let's drop down a quick perspective line, like a vanishing point. Vanishing point basically is what it is, right? Is when you're looking out. Let's say you're looking out at something like the ocean. Eventually, it's going to disappear because it kind of the curvature of the Earth makes it disappear. You know, that's kind of the end of it. Uh, it's you know you use that a lot in drawings as well. So we kind of use this for like this box he's sitting on. You kind of do vanishing point, figure out how it's sitting on, especially if it's 1 point perspective. I will go over perspective more carefully in another drawing, but you know the box looks actually pretty good. I think it could be straightened up a little bit. Maybe that box. I mean, of course he's smashing it, right? He's sitting on it, so that would change it a little bit. But I'd pull that line up more a little bit, you know. And honestly, this is one of those things where the box is usually people think of it as an afterthought, right? Um, don't do that. Just think of it as just really think it through. The other thing I would say is this goes back to line art. Another line art rule, actually, I guess is another one that I use, is when something's pressing against something, I'll usually, if it's grounded, I'll usually throw a darker line at the bottom of it because it kind of grounds the image by pushing down on it. It just makes it feel more grounded. On the same note as when it's grounded, I'll usually throw in a dark pattern toward the bottom more than anything. You know what I mean? I just feel like it will, like I said, it will give it weight. You know what I mean? It won't feel like it's really heavy on top. And it feels like it's crushing. If you think of the values, let's say, oh, 1 second. Let me use a different. Let's see. Done. So if you're thinking of values, right? By values, I mean the darks and the lights within an image. If you have a lot of dark on top, as you do kind of right now, and a lot of thin little lines, it feels too top heavy. And for some reason, it doesn't feel like that. I guess we live in a world with gravity in it, and everything just kind of naturally comes down. It just tends to feel weird. Like this mass, like the darks on the top, will crush the little lights on the bottom. And if you really if you apply gravity to it, and I don't know why it's like that. That's just the best way I can figure it out in my mind. But if you have something more like like number two feels more comfortable to me. Like it's grounded. It's you're stable to the earth. And that's the way you kind of organize my values. I organize my values like that. Unless you do have an air shot. There's all kinds of rules. This is just a generality, guys. Okay, because I know there's always the exception to different rules. And if you put dark everywhere, I guess that can work as well. But you know what I mean? I don't know. It seems a little odd. I prefer the number two. I feel it feels more comfortable. You got like this complexities of the thin lines, and then you have the groundedness. Number two. Plus we see things in contrast. This looks heavy in number two. The bottom part of number two looks heavy because this other part is so light. The top part of number two is so light. Number three, I think I just don't. Fine. Anyways, I hope that made sense. That is really how I organize the values in my head. We're just talking about how dark and light things are through the image, and the image could be of anything. If that didn't make sense, please comment, because that's the first time I actually kind of talked about that, I think. Okay, let's go into specifics. Let's go into his anatomy. Right now, his face looks a little interesting. It looks a little bit turned. So if I was to really lay out the face, let me see what color I want to use here. So if he's turning this way, the center line of his head, it's probably a little bit angled as well, I would imagine. Nah, it wouldn't be that angled. Let me take the... So it wouldn't really be that angled. It'd probably be like right here. You always form that T on someone's face, and then those T's are pretty even as well, Pretty even across the face. I mean, they all, sorry, they're aligned. They're all, what do you call that? Parallel. His face is actually alright. I think his face is okay. But there's something wonky about it. And I don't know what it is. I think it has to do with some of the lines are a little off. I don't think there's anything too wrong with the structure itself. And this is the way this is the way I test my own drawings. Is I go over the structured portion of the drawings that I remember. You know, like I go over the exercise, the basics, right? And I go over my own drawings and I'm like, okay, there's something wrong. So I go back and I kind of double check it like I'm checking notes. Is that his ear? I'm not sure if that's his ear. If that's his ear, that's a huge ear. That's way too big. I think his skull is a little bit too big in the back, even though I know that's his hair. His hair the hair will still conform to the skull shape. So I think that would be, that's something to watch. But yeah, this is again how I check my own drawings. I go through and I go through the patterns of, you know, the planes of the head that I've learned, the basic planes of the head that I've learned, to kind of tighten it up. Excuse the, you know, the resolution, guys. Sorry about that. I would say something's up with his eyes. This right eye over here on the right over there. This right eye, and again, excuse the resolution, guys. Sorry about that. The right eye seemed a little off. And I think he's doing this kind of, look, right? What's going on, guys? It's really hard to work with his resolution. All right, and then we go through this, and let's see. Kind of flatten out his chin there a little bit. Yeah, I do think his ear's too big. That's a huge ear. Pulling the skull a little bit. Think about where his hair is kind of going into. Let me see. Yeah, that cleans it up a little tiny bit. I still think his left eyebrow is a little bit small. Again, guys, I apologize. It's really hard to work at this resolution. That's just, you know, because of the photos taken, stuff like that. I'm going to show that place above the eye there, the eyebrow. Anyways, that's just, though, I try to clean it up a little bit. I don't know if I did that right, to be honest, but because the right eye seems a little bit too dark now, you know. He has no pupils as well. Aww, he's looking at you. Anyways, I would just kind of go over and realign the eyes a little bit. There's just some things that are a little bit, like, you know, see that right eye especially. That right eye is very, like, Asian. I don't know how to say it. Was one eye is Asian, this other eye is not. And the eye would not really change like that, no matter what expression he's making. So I would just try to look in and go over kind of the planes of the head and really look at those to try to figure out what's off about that. Let me go more into the body right now. The body right now seems a little odd because where the shoulder attaches such a weird spot. I also think the tibia. I think this is the tibia, right? Tibia, the ulna, and radius. This bone right here is too long. You know, this part of the arm is way too long. See where it connects? If we were to have it connect, let me go into this. What color can I use? Let's use pink. So if we were to have the joint up here, and it goes down right here, right there, This bone is just too long, and it's not in perspective, you know. So it just seems far too long. Um, so that would be a critical thing to change. Let's see, bam. Also, it needs to be wider. Oops, why am I still drawing in pink? It needs to be wider, I believe. So you kind of have to open that up a little bit. I'm gonna try to do that a little bit. I'm not trying to super finesse this right now, but it needs to be a little bigger, no matter what pose. Because I know he's probably doing that kind of like bro pose, that kind of like whatever, you know what I mean? That kind of So you have to kind of watch that shape. The arm itself is a little bit too skinny as well, if you were to do that. Let's move stuff around here. His wrist is also really small. You know, you have to watch out for that as well. These are all just basic proportion stuff, you know. Another thing is, a while ago, the way the arm was attached there. I mean, I like the fact that you're thinking of it like I guess tubing. That's a good idea. That's how you start, right? But then you also got to connect it, you know, because right now it looks like Gumby's arm, like it just looks like Play-Doh squishing. That's where you kind of bring in the anatomical nuances, you know. For example, I've noticed that the brachioradialis is the muscle, and you can see it on your own arm too, usually. Brachioradialis, that does kind of tie things together when things bend, I noticed. And since it's bending it kind of in that motion, he's bending it in this fashion. That particular muscle, which is the bicep will activate a little bit, you know. So you're probably going to get, no matter again how skinny he is, it'll probably activate a small bit there, you know. Let's throw the cloth there a little bit down there. So that would probably activate a little bit, make his wrist a little bit bigger. At the radius and ulna, I think the radius sticks out, I believe. Drawn with a flat brush, excuse me, guys. The glove wraps down a little bit. Also, kind of going to the hands a little bit. Like I said, the knuckle on the hand sticks out the most. Usually that's the highest, not always. But it's a nice way to draw it, or at least start drawing it. Holding that cigarette there. I'm not going to go over that right now. But yeah, do you see what I'm talking about with the arm? In my own arm. Try to kind of form that connection a little bit. You know, because right there, it's too long. This upper part of the arm is too long, and right now it's bending too without any rhyme or reason. What is going on with this? Let me see. There you go. Just kind of make it, you know, pull that muscle out to kind of connect it, make it look like it's really bending. And if you want to, put some kind of folds, like I said, in there as well. It's a little bit too hard with a resolution to do that, but you can also do that as well. Although this right here, I gotta like see, like now I'm like going into my own drawing here, like it's like I'm straightening that out because it's starting to look a little crooked, you know. Anyways, I hope that kind of made sense. Same thing kind of goes with the leg as well. Let me go over the leg real quick. When going back to the leg, you know, you got to remember that cloth. You got the inside part, right? You have the actual leg itself, right, which is the anatomical part, and then you have the cloth that goes over it. You know what I mean? And the cloth itself is going to conform to the actual leg. Let me do that in color so that makes sense. So in the inside, you have the actual leg, right? The foot, the leg, all that stuff. That's going to be kind of something like this, really, right? That would be the leg itself. And then the cloth is it is gonna conform, especially to the joint areas. It's gonna really touch, but it's gonna also lax. See that? It's gonna lax, especially because he seems to be wearing baggy type pants ish. It's gonna lax, but it's still gonna wrap around the leg itself. But there's gonna be this baggy portion away from joints. Like in joints when they bend and they tighten, like especially in the knee. You know, that thing is bent like that. That's gonna press right against the cloth. But down toward the bottom, it's gonna really lax out. You know, and that comes from. I mean, knowing that is really just knowing from wearing pants. You know, that will be a big thing. I would also say look at the shoe. I was gonna say shoe anatomy. I would look at real shoes and see how, just reference real shoes. Literally reference real shoes. Draw a bunch of shoes, and then if you want to do it from your mind, that's great. I don't really have a lot of shoes in my mind. You know what I mean? I usually just look at reference. It's a good skill to do though, for sure. Maybe I'll go over that. That might be a cool video. Uh, but that would be, very very much reference shoes. And actually, you should really reference cloth as well, and form your mental library so you form a lot. Anyways, this video is taking a long time. I'm very sorry, guys. This is a very long video. This may be the longest video of these I've done in a while. But if you guys have any feedback also, let me know what you think about this photo. I think you did an overall good job. I think you told me your age as well. I don't remember what it was. I remember thinking like, wow, it's really young. But keep working. The big takeaway things, let me just say the big takeaway things would be the proportions in terms of like learning the bones and things like that. Like just the proportions is the biggest, I think, fault, if I was to find one, to really try to work on the proportion thing. Because that arm, the upper arm before, was way, way too big. See, that is way too long. And it was also too thin, I would say draw from people more. That would help a whole lot. And that's an internal thing. You're just kind of guessing distances in a way. I never followed distances. Sorry, I'm rambling again, but I never followed, when they say, I usually just make them about, I usually make this width right here and this one, I usually make them just about the same. You know what I mean? I know there's rules that say, this should be this distance and, this, I never followed that. I just kind of eyeballed it, and eventually you just draw it so much that you internalize it. You know what I mean? And that's what you should do. A lot of it would be mileage. You know what I mean? And that's actually what I really recommend for proportion. I never followed rules for proportion. Even though I do kind of say them, there are definitely some proportional rules. Don't get me wrong, like splitting the head up into thirds. I follow that all the time, even now. But I mean, in terms of like how long the arm is, I just kind of like guess. I eyeball it. So, anyways, that's horrible advice, but that's what I do. Anyways, guys, if you guys, I've been going on too long about this. I could go over the hand, but I'm not gonna do that. But if you guys have any feedback, write it down below as well. I really noticed that guys encourage each other on here too. Other artists encourage other artists who are learning. I'm also a learning artist, so please shoot me a comment in the comments below. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.